out my mind. I am far behind because I find it so much better to unwind. Although there's so much to be done, it could be fun. Do you think there's time for a quick one? The work piles up fast, so many tasks, there's almost no way to catch up. Don't know where to start, it isn't smart, but I've got other plans for us. Although there's so much to be done, it could be fun. Do you think there's time for a quick one? Some say they have seen a gigantic living being, several stories high. We're all going to die. Oh no, run if you can, 'cause Tokyo, Japan is in for big trouble. Looks like Godzilla is real, and once he gets here, he'll reduce things to rubble. There's no time to pack. Run and don't look back. Careful where you hide. Many won't survive. By now, he's well on his way, and you're gonna pay if you don't get to race it. But look up in the skies, we're facing demise from an alien invasion. Yes, he is destructive, and we hope he won't advance. But as it turns out, he might just be our only chance. Save the lizard, he will make a stand. City filled with screams and deadly laser beams. A full-scale attack. Can he hold them back? This is a dangerous place. The city's a waste with battlegrounds epic. Both sides are pummeled and fried with nuclear eyes and death rays electric. Yes, he is destructive. We have seen this in the past. But as it turns out, it's an advantage that he has. Save the lizard, he will kick their ass. The air has gotten thick with broken glass and steel and brick. The aliens are no more. Hear Godzilla's mighty roar. And so the battle was won, and when it was done, he retreated to the ocean. And if we're ever attacked, I bet he'll be back, at least that's what I'm hoping. Yes, he is destructive, partly from gargantuan girth. But as it turns out, you know it could have been much worse. Save the lizard, he will save the earth.
Hey, welcome to the stream, everybody. Today is Sunday. It is March 25th, and I am bringing on a very special guest Today we have Miss Keto for Real Life People, Nancy Childress, which I'll explain in a little bit how we sort of met. And why don't you say hi, Nancy?
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. It's my first time on I always say it wrong because it's like a tongue twister. That's the first time you've had me as a guest, and I'm super excited.
Excellent. We have our Facebook chat right here on the screen, and then right up here we have our YouTube and Twitch stream chat. And if you can't see it, then I will relay the messages coming across those things to you. As well as that, we have a special phone number that's right here at the bottom of the screen that people can call in. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to get my wiring set up, so I will simply hold the phone up to the microphone, and you'll be able to hear what the people are asking if they have questions. And they'll have to listen over the air, or I'll have to relay the things back because they can't hear you because I'm on heads. Anyway, it's complicated and stupid, and I hope that you enjoy your time here, Nancy. I'm really blessed to have you here. Both of us were talking just a little bit before we came on the show, and we both kind of have like a similar feeling about what we're called to do. And
yes.
So I really am encouraged by that. So Nancy runs a Facebook group called Keto for Real Life People group. It's an extremely supportive group for people wanting to start doing keto, or even people who have been advanced in it. And it's a place where people don't get like keto police batoned upside the head.
That's right.
And it's a great place for people to go. So we have Jackson's45 here in the chat. We also have Todd Rittle in the chat. Jackson's45 is our resident music junkie, and he will be bringing in like occasional song of the day blurbs. And he plays 45s on his YouTube channel if anybody's interested. It's really cool. So it's worth it. It's worth your time to watch the replay and Google the songs that he mentions in the chat. It's kind of cool. Anyway, so Nancy, we have a really special topic. Why don't you tell us about this topic?
Well, we're going to talk about how to get started on keto, what my approach is, and just the basics of keto, how our group works, and how you can just kind of move forward and make keto applicable in your life. One of my favorite things to say is keto doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's very, very common sense way of eating that anybody can do. So that's kind of where we're going to go tonight. For those who are thinking about keto, want to get started on keto, or maybe you've just started but you're kind of struggling because you don't quite understand it.
Excellent. I know for me, like when people come to me, they're like, well, what do I got to do? Is I can still eat potatoes, right? I can still eat corn on the cob because that's not bread, right?
Right, but we can't have any of that. What I like to tell anybody who's thinking about starting keto, maybe you've been thinking about it. Maybe you're like, I am, desperately overweight. I'm desperately unhealthy. Whatever your reason are, you're like, okay, I see all these people doing keto. I see them losing weight. I see them feeling great, and I'm going to do it. But I would ask you to stop before you ever take that first step and do some soul searching, do some mindful thinking, and think about it. Keto is not a quick fix by any way, shape, or means. This is not something you do to lose some weight and then think that you're done and you get to go back to the way you used to eat. And it's not a quick fix for health either. It's a lifestyle choice. So you need to go in and you need to be informed. You really do. You need to stop and think about, will I ever eat bread again? Not regular bread. No, you won't. Will I be able to order pizza eventually? No, you won't. And you won't be eating a lot of things. And I don't mean it to sound like a downer, but you're going to change and cut out a large portion of what you're used to eating, and you're going to do it for the rest of your life. So I always say stop and think about it. Now, On the flip side, there are so many things so wonderful about keto. And I always say, if you'll give it a good solid 3 weeks, you're not going to even miss the things that you thought you were going to miss in the first place. Yeah, you might not have pizza from Domino's, but there's an alternate. There's always something alternate. And then as this keto is just growing and growing, and creative cooks out there are, creating all kinds of wonderful foods. So you don't feel deprived, and you don't feel hungry, and you don't feel like you're missing out socially, or even, just with your food or nutrition. So that would be my first bit of advice. Be mindful. Make that choice going in fully aware of what you're fixing to do.
We have a question here from Jackson. He's asking, question, how healthy really is V8 juice? I know that it has some sodium in it. However, but the veggies in it have some great benefits, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, the problem with V8 juice is, first of all, it's a processed food, so it's pretty much been cooked to death because of law. Okay, so you're not going to get the actual nutritional benefits that you would if you were to squeeze it yourself. Okay, like I do own a juicer, and I'm starting to play with some keto juice recipes right now. But generally speaking, I didn't like to buy processed juice because of the higher sugar content and the poor nutritional value. And it's just got too many carbs in it for our liking. So you can get the same nutrition from real vegetables, and you'll get higher nutrition and purer nutrition. So that's my take on tomato juice, V8 juice, or fruit juices.
Yeah, my take on it is that if you have a blender, which is in the long run cheaper than V8, if you have a blender and you have some imagination with ways to, like, a few strawberries, a couple of strawberries goes a long way toward giving you a relatively low carbohydrate, highly nutritionally dense flavor into whatever juices that you want. Like if you have some tomato, like a few cherry tomatoes in there isn't going to raise your insulin significantly. But if you had just a couple of strawberries in there, it takes that edge off of it, gives you that kind of fruity
essence,
essence to it. And you can add some of the extremely low glycemic sweeteners that are out there, like stevia drops or something like that. That's not really going to spike your insulin that much, and you can enjoy something that's better, that's way better for you, nutritionally denser than V8.
Right, and there's a difference between juicing and there's a difference between like smoothies, because you can do a lot of smoothies with a blender. Even keto. I mean, did y'all know? I think that, I'm trying to remember if it's celery or cucumber, but I think it's celery. An 8 ounce of celery juice is only 40 calories total, and the sugars are extremely low. So, if you might not like to crunch on celery, but you sure can use it to make it as a base for your smoothies. You can keep it in your fridge to add to soups and broths. Mm-hmm. It's very nutritional, and you could add ginger or mint or strawberries or blueberries or blackberries. I mean, and then we talk spinach. So, I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities.
Jackson's saying, so freshly squeezed fruits and veggies they work better then. That makes sense. I think that in as a rule, anything fresh is going to be better than something processed. Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you were eating a high carb meal, if you were eating foods that were fresh rather than processed, you're one step better than the other. But I think that in the keto approach, we try to avoid fruits for the most part. Berries are, one of the few exceptions, and they're in very controlled quantities because it can
you don't
still
just run
add
around
up.
eating them all day.
And I personally recommend people skip nuts and berries entirely for the first few weeks. That's just my approach, and I try to keep people completely away from fruit, just so that when if they do end up reintroducing some of those things, then they know what impact it has when they start reintroducing it.
Actually, I think that is a good approach. Now, for me personally, I can take it from this perspective, all the way from that juicing question down to here. Prior to keto, I have tried everything under the sun, including juicing. That's why I have a juicer.
Mm-hmm.
1 year I decided I was going to give up all that junk and just be like Joe the juicer, you know?
Yeah.
Except for I was starving. The juice was wonderful, and I prefer green over sweet fruit juices. Still, it wasn't enough to sustain me. It was not a sustainable way of living. Sorry. I think even Joe the juicer gained some weight back. So I will take it all the way to there. And then when it comes down to that keto approach, like you said, you know, I really didn't start it with. I didn't do nuts, but I did do some berries. I would do like a handful of strawberries, which is really like 3 or 4. But again, very controlled during my first starting keto during the first few weeks. But I do like your approach because I love to encourage everyone who starts keto to start as clean as possible. Not that I'm being a keto police. I just think it sets the tone, you know, as you grow into keto, as you start your keto journey and you become very familiar with all of your fats and your good proteins and how to add fats to your food versus things like fat bombs, cheeses. I don't particularly care to count those as my fats. I like pure fat as fat.
Right.
And I'm kind of a Puritan about it for my personal self. So I like that approach. As if you can start keto clean, and I'm currently struggling on the computer because I'm computer illiterate on creating a 7-day clean meal plan for beginners, just for beginners, you know, just to keep it as simple as possible. And then again, once you grow into it and you've been there, that first month is down, and you're ready to, you know, start branching out and trying more fruit recipes or almond flour recipes or things, something of that nature. It can seem daunting in the beginning, but really, if you start clean, you start pretty cheap too. And you can take the time that you're eating clean to start building a little pantry.
That's right.
And while you're building that pantry, when you're ready to expand, it won't cost you an arm and a leg all at once.
You know, like when I did the bacon experiment, you know, some people were talking about, you know, oh, well, bacon's so expensive. But when you really think about it, like how much does it cost you to eat a day? Like if you're eating like a full vocabulary of foods, it actually costs you, you know, $6-7 a day, even if you're eating at home, right? So if it costs, you know, if you're eating bacon and you buy it on sale, you know, anyway, the whole thing, what ended up being, I ended up spending like $3 a day eating pork sirloin for 30 days. And
wow.
And here's the thing. It's that was kind of like the ultimate extreme elimination, right? But and I don't ask anybody to do that. I do think it's a great experiment, but I think that one of the things, I think you'll agree with this, is that when you first start, especially if you start clean like that, you begin to feel great. Now, you may not be able to hold onto that complete elimination diet, you know, with everything gone. You may not be able to grasp that at first, but one of the things that you'll notice is that you'll start feeling pretty great. When I was before I started keto, my main problem was not just my weight; it was inflammation, it was chronic pain.
Yes, mine
I've shared with you, and so when you feel like crap all the time, you don't really notice that much when you feel a little crappier. You don't really notice that much when you feel awful. Just isn't that much further than pretty crappy every day, right?
Exactly.
So, but when you feel suddenly like remarkably better, I mean, maybe you don't feel completely stellar, but you feel pretty great in comparison to what you did feel like. Suddenly you become aware of when something makes you feel off, when something makes you feel bad, which is why what I was saying about the berries and the nuts, for instance, when you reintroduce those, they're probably going to have some kind of a little effect on you, and you will notice what it is. You will notice it.
Well, see, and I find that true to be with the dairy, too. That's one of the things that I ask people when they're starting keto, when they're starting out, Yes, there's going to be some dairy, but I try to put that on the, like here on your fats, on your proteins, on your vegetables. Eat freely, enjoy it as much as you possibly, just enjoy it, especially when you're starting out. I don't count macros. I don't count calories. I don't do any of that. Now, I'm not against it either, because there are times I'll do a self-check for myself. But I just don't think that the stress is necessary, especially when you're very, very, very first starting out on keto. This is going to be so different. It's going to be so new to you that when you sit down in the morning and you're having, a few eggs and some bacon and perhaps some avocado sliced up, and you've poured a little extra butter across your bacon or your eggs, you're going to be so satisfied, you're going to be so full that you really aren't going to be thinking about anything else except for the fact that, hey, maybe for the first time in forever you feel truly full,
Yeah.
And so when you come along to the next meal, and maybe it's going to be, one of my favorite simple meals is a BLT salad. I love taking butter lettuce because it's so delicate and yummy, and tearing it up, crumbling bacon on it, cutting some cherry tomatoes across the top, maybe a couple of thin slices of red onion, and then I drizzle bacon fat across the top. Guys, that's all I put on it, salt and pepper. It is one of the fastest, like wildfire salads in my group, because you would not believe how bacon grease hands down beats any salad dressing that you're going to try. There's not even vinegar or lemon. It is just a BLT salad. Again, you're so satisfied. You're so satisfied. And that's the way it should be. After you've adapted to eating cleanly like this, you might not even have room for any more food that day. So if you get the little niggle, then that's when you grab a cup of good bone broth, whether you've purchased a very good brand or you've taken the time to make it at home. And then when you add a little bit of your butter, which I use, that, grass-fed Kerrygold butter, it's affordable for me, so I buy it. And that is a whole day. That is a whole day of keto. And to be full for the first time, and when you're eating like that and 1 week passes by and all of a sudden you notice, hey, I'm not hurting. I don't have to take a leave. I don't feel the need anymore.
That's right.
And oh my goodness.
Saturated fat is highly anti-inflammatory, or at least it's not pro-inflammatory when you're not taking in. What was it that Dr. Berry said? That if you want to do a cleanse of all the things that are causing the inflammation in your body, stop eating the things that are causing the inflammation in your body, and that's your cleanse. So once you're like eating, tons of healthy saturated fats and other things, then you find yourself in a state where you're no longer pro-inflammatory. Your body does the things that it naturally is supposed to do to reduce the inflammation in your body.
Yes.
Sherry says she can't wait to share this with her husband, Andy. And Jackson says exercise may also help with the healthy keto diet. Take a jog or do some stretching. And then he says, who would think butter and bacon grease would have a couple of benefits? LOL. So what's your take on the exercise comment?
I'm going to take off on the exercise comment. I think that, now this is according to Dr. Berry, and I don't always agree with every little thing that he says, but I do agree with this. Exercise is not necessary to lose weight. So when you are very first, I would say during at least your first 2 weeks of keto, possibly 3, don't even think about exercise unless it's something you are already doing and you are addicted to it, or you're a gym rat and that's what you like to do, okay? But just say you're the average person like I was, and you were pretty sedentary and you weren't physically fit and you just need to start taking that weight off. Focus on one good thing at a time, because like Dr. Berry says, you don't have to exercise to lose weight. You just have to quit eating the junk and start eating the good food. And then as you start losing that first weight, that first 3 weeks, and you get comfortable with the keto, and maybe it's now, see, I'm going to tell you all straight up. I've been on it now. I'm finishing up week 12. I have done 0 exercise. I've lost 34 pounds.
So let me clarify. Week 12,
okay.
That means for those lay people, they're not willing to do the math for a second. That's only 3 months, okay?
3 months. Yes, we are finishing up 3 months of keto. We started January 1st, and I have done yet one lick of exercise, and I'm down 34 pounds. Now, I would shudder at the thought of doing any cardio or even weight training 3 months ago because I was so unhealthy, not only overweight, but the joint inflammation, the pain, and all that. Now
Yes.
I'm ready. Now I want to. And now I'm going to exercise for my muscles, for my bones, to tone, to just feel healthier overall. But I'm not going to do it because I need to kick my weight loss along. Those two really aren't necessary. You would have to do so much cardio to burn off one donut. It's just like,
and as soon as you stop, you're not doing it anymore. That's the thing. As soon as but us on keto, our bodies are burning calories. Like for people don't even think about this, but your brain alone burns 600 calories a day just being, right? Just your brain runs all the stuff that makes the things happen, and your brain burns 600 calories a day just doing that, plus thinking and dreaming
and believe it or not, at night when you're sleeping is when your body is working the hardest and at all and burning the most calories. You burn more calories at night while your body is trying to keep everything functioning and running properly so you can rest.
To be clear, I would never diss anybody for exercising. I don't diss anybody for exercising,
No, me either.
I don't downplay the importance of exercise. But what I do say is that exercise has little to nothing to do with weight loss.
Exactly.
It just is not really that much a part of the equation with weight loss at all. However, it's healthy to exercise if you can safely, if you can productively. When I was in my injured, inflamed state, there was no way that I could do it safely or productively.
For me, it's going to be, I know that I am ready because, first of all, I do have osteoarthritis. And yes, I am feeling better. But, weight-bearing exercise is good for us to build strength. It's like having that strong core, When your core is solid, then the rest of you you're less prone to have back blowouts or knee injuries because we're strengthening our body to strengthen it for the sake of strengthening it versus exercising for weight loss. You just have to know the difference of what's what,
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
There's no way to say that exercise is not a healthy thing to do. It's just to say what part of the equation are you working on? What part of your health are you working on? And since my focus up until recently has been on the weight loss, and especially early in the beginning, I had to get rid of just tons of inflammation, and now I'm into the point where I'm actually able to work a full-time or part-time job, a strenuous job. Whereas when I quit working in 2010, it was from that chronic pain. It was from inflammation. I had to quit a job that I'd been at for 17 years because of that. So my primary concern, I wasn't even aware of how overweight I was, really, but I was aware of I was acutely aware of the chronic pain.
Yes.
When you're starting out keto, now, I know there's there's a few schools of thought on counting, tracking, and all that stuff. Now, personally, I have an approach where I don't think everybody benefits from tracking, but it can be a useful tool for diagnosing. And like if you don't know what's wrong with what's going on, then it can be really helpful for figuring that out. But on a daily basis, it causes a lot of people a lot of heartache and stress, and I think that for the most part, a lot of that is unnecessary. But I do think that is a useful tool also in one other respect, in learning what a real portion looks like. Because when we look at the back of a thing of sour cream, and it says that it's got 2 grams of carbohydrates for this much. And so we go, okay, well, I'm just going to guesstimate what 2 tablespoons is. Unfortunately, our brains are not hardwired to know what a real tablespoon or a quarter cup or an ounce of things is. So when you actually start out in a way where you're tracking and weighing and measuring, that is helpful for you to learn those portions. I don't necessarily think that you have to always do that. In fact, I think that the vast majority of people would benefit from bailing on that as soon as they possibly can. But while they're learning, while you're learning portion control, and I don't mean to like put so much emphasis on portion control, but things that do have carbohydrate in it can add up quicker than you think when you're not paying attention to it.
Well, and that's true. Now, for me personally, I would have to say that it also depends on personality type.
Definitely,
if you are going into this, when you start keto and you're very serious about it, and if you've taken the time to do a little bit of research before you jump in, there are people who do, I did. I checked everything out that I possibly could, so I knew what I was going to get into. Excuse me, when I started. Now, I have seen people who said, I'm starting keto today, what do I do? And have no clue. For that person who says, okay, what do I do? I want you to get Carb Manager or Stupid Smart Carb, whatever that one is. I want you to get a really, what is it, Simple Stupid or something like that, carb app. That person who doesn't want to actually learn as much, perhaps, but just wants the benefits, I think they should do that, because again, carb creep is real. Like you said, I mean, now I can cut a tablespoon of butter all day long. I've been doing it for years, and I cook, so I know my portions. A lot of people don't. So portion control really does come into play. And if you're the type of person who's going to jump into keto and say, well, I'm going to just start eating cheese on every single meal, and then I'm going to make a big keto casserole with lots of cheese and sour cream and mayonnaise, and then you turn around and go, I don't understand why I haven't lost weight. Maybe Carb Manager or some sort of tracking is going to be super beneficial for that person.
Yeah, it can help to diagnose. It can help to really diagnose. Like, for instance, you go to the doctor when you need to be diagnosed. Okay, with keto, I'm not trying to put doctors out of business, although I would like to put a lot of doctors out of business. I personally, I love Ken Berry, and I love Michael Eads.
Michael Eads is one of my favorites as well.
So there are doctors out there that are transforming the world, but there's a lot of doctors out there that are not my friend. But when you are doing keto for lots of intents and purposes, we are our own doctors in this case. We are doing for ourselves with our food the thing that for so many decades, at least for me, I mean, you may be only a person in your second decade now, but for those of us that have been around for close to 5 decades, we've been treated badly by doctors for most of that time, for the vast majority of that time, with medications that didn't help the situation. Whereas now we are treating those things that those medications didn't help with food in our own kitchen as our operating room. And
do you want to hear one of my favorite things to say when it comes to this?
Yes.
Now, when it comes to doctors, one of my prime examples are bariatric surgeons. Now, I'm not against anybody having bariatric surgery whatsoever. I think it's the ultimate tool, and if that's what you need to do to get your life straight, that's fine. I 100% support that. I myself was desperate and ready to go that route as well. I mean, I had my husband was like, I'm all for it. If that's what you want, then that's what you can do, because I could not get a grip on my life. But then I had this epiphany about bariatrics, and I have very close friends who've had the surgery as well. And in order to qualify for this surgery, you have to prove to them that you're willing to lose weight and have the self-discipline to lose weight, because once you have this surgery, you're going to have to use self-discipline for the rest of your life and eat properly, or it's not going to be effective. And what they do is they prescribe this diet for you that is ridiculously stupid. Oh my God. They want you to have like 1,000 calories or less. They want you to drink some shakes. They want you to eat some, like, half cup of brown rice with 3 ounces of boiled chicken. I mean, it's such a wazoo of bull, because, I guarantee you, if they want you to lose 20 or 30 pounds prior to bariatric surgery, they're not asking you to eat keto, because you're going to darn well lose that weight.
Right.
You really are. And then once you start losing that weight and your body quits hurting and your diabetes goes away and your inflammation is gone, you're going to turn around and look at that doctor and you're going to be like, you know what? I think I'm going to keep on doing this, and you can lose out on $25,000 from this customer. That, to me, is one of the biggest scams out there. Again, I'm not against people who truly, want to do this in their life, but they need to realize these doctors are not their friends, or else they would have them eating keto.
So I have a friend who is type 2 diabetic, and he may be watching this. I've said this to him, so I'm not talking about him behind his back, but he would like to get bariatric surgery to be able to qualify for a pancreas transplant. And the reasoning behind it is that his body is resistant to his current insulin that his pancreas secretes, and his pancreas doesn't secrete enough of it. He has to take close to 1,200 units a day. So wow. I'm not exaggerating, 1,200 units a day. And so he wants to get a pancreas transplant. In order to qualify for that, he has to lose a tremendous amount of weight. So he's willing to get bariatric surgery of some sort. I think it's the band. And once he loses that weight, he'll qualify for this thing. And I said, well, the problem with that is that you'll get a pancreas transplant and you're not changing what caused the diabetes in the first place. So you will eventually become resistant to that insulin from the new pancreas as well. Since you're already prone to insulin resistance, you will become resistant to that. So are you just going to get another pancreas later? So it's just, you think about the long game when you start going down that path, and I want to address something that comes up quite a bit. So, what do you say to people who they're not getting the results that they see some other people? Some people have incredible results, right? It's totally not typical necessarily, but it totally does happen. So what do you say when someone is they feel they're doing everything by the book, but they're not getting the stellar results that they see someone else getting?
Well,
how you doing, Vengeance?
As a person who, I deal with that in my inbox day in and day out, and I encourage anybody who's having struggles, just PM me and we'll go over it, we'll work it out, we'll figure out what's happening. And I can tell you that probably 80 to 85% of every person who is, thinking they're doing everything that they should, and they're just not getting the results. They're getting very few, very little, small amounts, if anything. And I will tell you, most of it is carb creep. I almost guarantee you. And I don't even think it's always intentional. I think, again, going into keto, you need to understand how to maximize the effect. You can lose, now, like for instance, I'm at 34 pounds. There are some members that have been in that group the same time as I have, and they are only now either 6 pounds or 10 pounds in 3 months. And they're not happy, and there's a reason. There's a reason they're not happy. Let's wipe out that they might have thyroid or PCOS, okay? So let's take the medical things off the board. And let's just assume that, everything's working properly. And all you have to do is... They're just
a regular person that just needs to lose some weight, right?
Exactly. You're just a regular person who needs to lose some weight. Well, then you need to start to eat clean. Because for somehow, some way, everybody thinks that they should be drinking bulletproof coffees at least 2 a day, normally, or bulletproof cocoa, or bulletproof tea, or some sort of bulletproof something, almost every single time. It is the culprit, number one culprit of why you're not getting results. And again, I tell everybody, I'm not against them. I think of it as a tool. It's just another tool in our arsenal. If, for instance, you are out there running around and you got to run out the door, go to work, you know you're not going to have your first meal until like 4, 5, 6 hours down the road, grab a BPC. Go ahead and put 1 MCT oil in, 1 butter, and that's it. Don't load it down with a bunch of half and half or cream or sweeteners.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about, Nancy.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I mean, but you look, when you're starting out, that kind of stuff, you're having fat, yes, but you're not I prefer to tell people I would prefer to take my fat and pour it over nutritious food. That way I'm getting nutritious food and fat, and they work beautifully together. You know?
You know what, Vengeance? You're not the only person addicted to coffee. Vengeance is saying he's addicted to coffee. And
nah, I'm addicted to coffee. I'm just not addicted to bulletproof coffee.
You know, okay, so I'll bring up this point because I'm the kind of nerdy, sciencey, geeky dude. For 10,000 years of human history, I'm outing myself as a young earther, which some people may say I'm stupid for that. But okay, so for 10,000 years of human history, bulletproof coffee did not exist, and fat bombs did not exist. However, deer, antelope, caribou, they did exist, and people ate them. And I'll also point out that people use the Inuit as a grand example of this
I have
people.
used that as one of my examples as well.
But very few of us in modern society are eating raw caribou out on the lawn in front of our house, and just spooning down raw seal tallow, in
Right.
our coffee. That's not our brand of bulletproof coffee at all. So we can't really necessarily compare us to the Inuit in that sense. But for some reason, this modern obesity epidemic started taking place, and you can't say that fat never weighed into the equation, but you also can't say that fat is the primary contributor into it. You could just say this: if you are eating fat, your body will burn that fat before it is going to burn the fat off of your butt.
Now let me ask you this, okay? I don't know. I want to call you Bo, and then I want to call you Bro, and then I want to call you Bryce.
It's Brother Bryce. So
okay,
bro.
so like it's bruh. I could be like, hey, bruh.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to clarify. Like, dude, it's always a tongue twister for me. So here's the thing. This is one good point. I can't even remember the name of the YouTube video. It was a British lady. She made an awesome point about how you can eat less fat and lose weight. And believe it or not, it wasn't like it sounded. She was 100% keto.
Right.
But when we first start out, we want to eliminate all those carbs, and we want that nice high fat.
Yep.
And you get that first weight loss going. I mean, for me, it was 11 pounds the first week. It was 7 pounds the next week. It was 5 pounds the next week. And boom, boom, boom. And then it started slowing down to 1 pound, 2 pound. And then I thought, oh, I've got this bright idea. Now I'll try the bulletproof coffee because I'm just not hungry anymore. My appetite's completely gone away, and I'm only losing a pound or so a week. So I'm going to make sure I get my fat. That was my mindset. I wasn't really hungry for food, but if I was going to put something in my body, then I had to put the magic fat in my body because it's magical. It burns everything off. It didn't. Actually, it didn't, and I experienced my first 2.5 week, no weight gain, no weight loss whatsoever. And the thing that I was doing was having bulletproof coffee every day because I wanted to hit my high fat for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Then I took a different approach to it, and I listened to this lady on YouTube, and I loved it. She says, you actually, when you hit stalls, really all you're doing is hitting maintenance. It made perfect sense to me. It was like, oh, light bulb went off. That is so true. So even though I wasn't hungry, I was still pushing my body to consume higher fat than what I actually needed.
Right. Yeah.
Now I'm still eating very high fat, but I'm not consuming 118 grams a day now. I'm probably consuming closer to 88 grams a day of fat. Still making it my majority because I'm still not eating as much food now either.
I think that if people, even if they're not adding fat necessarily, like they're just eating like, the chicken with the skin on, and they're not cutting the fat off of that ribeye. I think that you'd be hard pressed to get below 70% of your calories from fat. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to get less than 70% of your calories from fat if you just did that and didn't add a whole bunch of fat, like pouring a bunch of butter on top of it.
Actually, I'll tell you right now, I feel like I've got to that level where, because I've been doing intermittent fasting. We haven't really talked a lot about intermittent fasting yet, but, when you start recognizing your body's rhythm for eating and stuff, I have an 8-hour window that I eat in, usually anywhere from 10 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. That's the time that I do my eating, and I usually only have 2 meals and a snack. But even then, I'm pushing it. I don't have the snack. Now I'm down to 1.5 meals a day. Just feel like that. So for me, my next level, and I'm in the process of it, is 1 meal. I'm on my very first day. Yesterday I had a meal. And so today I had 1 meal at 3:30. I made it. And I won't eat again until 3:30 tomorrow.
It's called OMAD, guys.
It's called OMAD. It's called OMAD. Now,
Sherry has a question. Sherry has a question. She says, I have PCOS and IR and down 12 first week, another 5.5 since, just ended week 5. Over
17 pounds in 5 weeks is beautiful.
Yeah, over 2.5 total inches lost. You can do it if I can. Cold turkey keto too. No easing in.
Yeah. See, it's totally doable, and those are actually really good numbers. 17 pounds in 5 weeks. I think that's great.
Yeah, there's no reason to be just to be anything less than completely thrilled over that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insulin resistant is what the IR. Thank you for that.
Okay. But I want to say that I do keep Carb Manager in my phone. Like you said, it's a good little diagnosis tool. It's also good for doing a check-in. So seeing how this is my first day of OMAD, I wanted to plug in my food because I wanted to see more about my nutritional values. Because I've heard, if you're eating 1 meal a day, you should go ahead and supplement. At this point, the only supplements I take are magnesium and vitamin D. But I was like, now I'm supposed to take a multivitamin. I don't know how I feel about that. So I went and bought a T-bone steak, and I bought some fresh asparagus, and I had some frozen cauliflower mash in the freezer, pre-done, and I plugged it all in. Now, that steak weighs, it was 0.93, 0.7 ounces, I guess, away. It was almost a pound, straight up. And to plug that in, it had 39 grams of fat. So it was great. Once I took the bone off and did it, then I came down to about 8 ounces, 8 3/4 ounces of cooked meat. So I really wasn't getting as much fat off of it as I thought. And I plugged in, I ended up adding a tablespoon of butter on top of my steak with fresh garlic minced into it. I ended up drizzling 2 tablespoons of olive oil all over my asparagus.
Nice.
And then I went ahead and added some butter, a little bit of shredded cheese, and some fresh cooked bacon on top and made loaded cauliflower mash. That's how I kicked it up. I got my high fat in today, like I said, about 88 grams. And then I got my protein in, and I got my veg in. And,
nice.
I hit the potassium. I hit all of it. So it was very nutritious, very balanced.
So you have those nutrient-dense vegetables and nutrient-dense foods all together.
Yes.
And by the way, just to hit on that cauliflower mash, we did cauliflower mash for Thanksgiving. We also did Caveman Keto's keto stuffing for, oh my goodness, it's to die for. It was so killer.
I got my cauliflower mash recipe from I Breathe, I'm Hungry. She's like my rock star, my idol, my keto idol.
I put bacon grease in my cauliflower mash. Bacon grease and sage are my 2 secret ingredients. I have a book giveaway to cut in with. So we are coming up on 10 minutes to the hour. So I have 5 books here to choose from. The first person to come up and say that they are interested in the book is welcome to get the book if you haven't won within the last 4 weeks. So, and this is for USA residents. And here we go. So we have the complete book of food counts, and we were talking about food counting, and I think that these kind of books are really useful for people to find out where the carbs come from, because you simply, when you first start out keto, most of us don't really have any idea where carbs really come from. We think they come from like the magical carb fairy or something, but this here is Michelle says she's interested in the book, and then June says she's in. June, Michelle got you by like a hairline. So you get to choose a book, Michelle. So we have the complete book of food counts by Corinne Netzer. We have the Dr. Atkins. This is a pocket book, new carbohydrate gram counter, and this is a little more brief. Well, it's actually a lot more brief. And then we have another book, Wheat Belly. This is the paperback by William Davis, MD. This teaches you all about why you should never eat grain. And to be honest, I know that the Atkins Foundation does introduce grain back into people's diets. I don't think anybody should eat grain. I don't think grain is good for you. But
No.
William Davis does a pretty great job of clinically examining why you should never eat grain ever. And then we have 2 other books. I have this one here I just found, the Low Carb Comfort Food Cookbook by Michael and Mary Dan Eads. What's that, Nancy?
I like that one.
This is by Michael and Mary Dan Eads and Ursula Salam, and this is a book that is just going to be chock full of advice and recipes from 2 of the masters of ketogenic nutrition, Michael and Mary Dan Eads. By the way, if you don't know who Michael Eads is, he's the guy that came up with that idea of net carbs. We're going to talk about net carbs in just a minute, but he's the guy that actually came up with that. So then lastly, the last book that I have here is Why We Get Fat and What to Do About It by Gary Taubes. This is by and large one of the foremost authorities on ketogenic science. Gary Taubes is a famous science writer, and in this also is the starter, basically the beginner food list in the back of this, in the appendix of this, is the beginner food list that is really like the masterful list of clean eating if you want to start out on a clean slate and really get keto kickstarted without any trouble. This book has that in there. So, but Gary Taubes also cites all the science that backs that up. So, we have Michelle. Which book would you like? You can select a book, and then you can PM me on Facebook and send me your vitals. Do not post them in the chat, or they'll be immortalized on the interwebs forever, and then you'll have all of your fans will be flocking to your house and burning a flaming trail. So while Michelle is coming up with which book she would like, June, by the way, I want to give you another shot next week. So tune in next week, and we will give away another book next week. But Michelle, while you're thinking about which book that you would like, you want the Comfort Food Cookbook. Excellent. So PM me your details on Facebook, and
Michelle!
I will mail that off to you as long as you're a U.S. resident. If you're not a U.S. resident, by the way, you can still get the book for free, but you have to fly to my house to get it. I will deliver it free of charge to my front door for you.
Better luck next time, June. That was close, you guys. I mean, they were both very,
I know,
very
it was so close. Yes. Nancy, net carbs. How do you approach that question? Do I do net carbs? Do I do total carbs? Do I do net carbs? What's a net carb?
Okay, well, I'm not the sciencey person, but here's my approach. I do net carbs, okay? I think it's a good jumping off spot. Okay, I'm going to put this thing down here. I think that net carbs are a good jumping off spot, especially if you're new to keto. It's a good place to go. once you figure out that you're really actually eating more than that, your body, you're more apt to be susceptible to it. You're more like, I'm ready to eat this because, it's just net carbs. Now then, here's the thing. It's like Dr. Berry says, your body really can't tell a calorie in a banana from a calorie in an avocado, So your carbs count. You could eat 25 net carbs of fat bombs or cheese or something like that, but you're really missing out on good quality. That's the difference to me between a net carb and say straight carbs.
Yeah.
You'll get more nutrition. Having net carbs says, wow, I get to eat pretty much unlimited green leafy vegetables. That's what it means to me.
Yeah.
I don't even count them. Why? Because I know I can have all the turnip greens or the broccoli or the spinach or any of those wonderful Brussels sprouts, any of those great vegetables, and I don't even have to worry about the carbs. But the minute I start picking up cheese, fat bombs, heavy cream, lots of dairy products, that's when all of a sudden it really does
tons
make a
of
difference.
keto pastries.
Yes, keto pastries, keto pancake, keto mug breads, keto fathead pizzas,
You know what I specifically tell people when they're starting out? I get the net carbs question quite a bit too. And by the way, Vengeance was asking earlier, what the heck is a bulletproof coffee? Bulletproof coffee is just a brand name, but it's basically just taking coffee and adding some sort of flavorful fat to it. And that's really basically what it is. And everybody's got their own twist on how they do it, but that's what a bulletproof coffee is. But my approach to net carbs is this, especially in the beginning. Later on, you can decide how your body responds to things. I think that everybody needs to listen to their bodies, like Nisha Berry says. She tells everybody, listen to your body. She tells Ken, listen to your body, and Ken listens to his body and he listens to Nisha. So, in my experience, the best approach, the simplest approach, the super simple, no-brainer net carbs approach is net carbs, yes, but it only applies to leafy green vegetables. Everything else, apply total carbs, and you can't go wrong. Because if you are counting total carbs on all those things that could be misinterpreted, then you have a chance for basically miscalibrating your brain compass for how many carbs you get to eat in a day. So I think that if you keep it strictly to the leafy green vegetables and everything else you figure total carbohydrate, then you can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong, but you could actually miss out on a lot of stuff, and then that might not be as sustainable for some people.
Yeah,
so it's one of those approaches. It's a great idea. It's a good concept, and for a person like me who likes to eat clean, I'm like, ooh, I like that a lot. Love it. But for a newbie, that might be just a bit much. I think that the net carbs are really important in the beginning. I do, and even though I really focus on everybody eating clean, I realize that maybe you're going to have some cream cheese with some lunch meat or something with, they're going to eat simple until they can learn more about keto. But I think that's a great approach. I do. I like that. I mean, it makes really good sense to me. I'm like, again, that's why I'm like, I don't even worry about my greens. I know who sits around overeating greens in the first place. Now, I could overeat potato chips all day long, but I don't really overeat my greens. I mean,
I could, back in the day, I could sit down with a tub of those red vines and start watching a movie, and I'm eating the first one, and then as I keep going, I look down to reach down for another one, and they're gone. And you can overeat red vines. You just, it's difficult to overeat.
Who knew?
Who knew? Where did they go? Michelle says thank you. June gives a little sad face, but June, I want to urge you to listen up next week. I do give away. I do at least as long as I have books, and I have books today. But as long as I have books, I do a book giveaway every single week, and I love to give away books because I think that, and I only pick out books that I think are worthy of something that I would think that somebody would have some worthwhile use for. It is the 5 o'clock hour. So we are getting ready to close up, unless some of you have
Wrap it up.
Yeah, if some of you have some kind of super pressing issue. June, I would hope that you come back next week. I love you for it. And Cindy says fat first. And
fat first, moderate protein, low carb, get you some.
That's right. Thank you for joining us, Nancy. It's been great. I really enjoyed having you. And
I enjoyed it too.
I hope that we can do this again sometime. I'm trying to set up I'm trying to get it lined up where I have some people coming in more regularly. So it would be nice to have you on for a visit again soon.
Yes, we'll just schedule it, and I enjoyed it. It was good, and yeah, definitely. We'll just get it all worked out in the background.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad the internet behaved this time, I think. So y'all have a great day. We're going to listen to some more great Glenn Case music on the way out, and we will see you all next week. Michelle, don't forget to PM me here on Facebook, and I'll get your details, and I'll mail you off your book this week. Have a great day. I love you guys. Don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, click that subscribe button, hit the bell notification button, and then also if you want to support this this ministry per se, go down in the description and there's a Patreon link in there. And then you know what, we don't really get paid for this except for in hearts and love and likes and shares, and any kind of support that you can lend that would help us to do this kind of stuff more regularly without having to charge anybody for it. That's great. So y'all have a great day. We will see you next week, next Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And don't forget to join Nancy in the Keto for Real Life People group on Facebook. I put all her links in the description. You got the Instagram, the Facebook group, the YouTube. And so make sure you hit her up. She's great, and she's also just going to totally give you all the attention that you need. And so
a great group, guys.
Yeah, it's
Anybody
a great
who has
group.
not been there, and it's open. All you have to do is go look. Everything's open for you to look at, and you can make that decision right there. But you're gonna love it.
Right on. You guys get to do the work, but we are here for you 100%. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you next week. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Some say they have seen a gigantic living being, several stories high. We're all going to die. Oh no, run if you can, 'cause Tokyo, Japan is in for big trouble. Looks like Godzilla is real, and once he gets here, he'll reduce things to rubble. There's no time to pack. Run and don't look back. Careful where you hide. Many won't survive. By now, he's well on his way, and you're gonna pay if you don't get to race it. But look up in the skies, we're facing demise from an alien invasion. Yes, he is destructive, and we hope he won't advance. But as it turns out, he might just be our only chance. Save the lizard, he will make a stand. City filled with screams and deadly laser beams.